This is not an episode of either The Watchdog or Unapologetics, nor is it an open room. So in a way, it's just a conversation that needed to happen. So thank you guys very much for being here. I definitely do appreciate it. I, of course, am the host of the Synagogue, CJ Cox. I am joined with Nakasuchi, the Raging Atheist. The two of us got in what can only be described as a pretty heated Twitter/Facebook exchange over the issues of riots. And, of course, I'm sure you guys all know what exactly is being referred to, right? But just in case, it's a combination both of what happened on the 6th or the 5th. I believe it was the 6th. And also, of course, it talks about BLM and Antifa would come up and stuff like that. And so as a result, the fact that we were bringing those two things up with each other got into something pretty heated, and we are now going here. So I appreciate you guys being here. We're obviously going to be a lot more, trying to make sure this is for benefit of everybody and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I just think it'll be a pretty good thing. So definitely thank you for being here today. I do want to briefly say to all of my audience, I have not posted anything this year so far. Obviously, it's only a 9-day year, but that's the exact opposite of what I said I was going to be doing, starting to use this year as a way to start getting actually consistent and put out a more high-quality product. I just ended up getting a really bad bout of food poisoning recently, and then have been kind of just working a lot to try and make that up. So that is why I apologize for that. We'll be up with an Unapologetics this Sunday, guaranteed. Old Testament canonization. Be there if you'd like. With that, I'm going to go ahead and pass this real quick to Rage, let him give a little bit of an introduction. And we're going to get right into this conversation. Thank you guys for being here.
All right. Yeah. And, I'm hearing a bit of an echo. All right, I think it's better now. All right, cool. Chat, let me know. You should be able to hear me. I wasn't talking when CJ was. This was originally just going to be on CJ's channel, and then yesterday I was like, you know what? I could run my OBS. If I go into his StreamYard early, I could run my OBS, and I wouldn't have to mirror it. So here we are. We're doing a dual streaming onto the Rage and onto CJ's channel at the same time. Hello to CJ's audience. And I'll be probably mainly speaking to you today, those that are watching in CJ's audience as well as CJ, because most of my audience is probably going to be in agreement with me, not necessarily everybody. What's up, audience? This is going to be an interesting conversation, and CJ knows that I'm upset, and I'm going to try to keep it cordial. Me and CJ have always had a cordial relationship, but it does stem back to like the very first time we talked, CJ, and that when I met CJ, before I get into my little brief opening, I wrote a brief opening that's going to kind of set up where I want to go with this conversation. When I met CJ, the first conversation we had was on Modern Day Debate. It was a debate about Confederate statues. And I spoke about that debate in a stream, and I said that I was going to reserve judgment. And over time, I've come to respect that CJ here is a honest interlocutor, and I still believe that to the very core of my soul. But I also believe that, CJ, you have some pretty messed up beliefs. So I want to kind of get into it. I'm going to start with my opening statement, and then I'll kind of pass it back to you to see if you're fine kind of starting this with where the little Twitter beef started. But I am here because I am pretty sick and tired of you demonizing BLM while defending MAGA. Now, I know you're going to kind of run away from that, but I do have some justification for that, and I will provide it. The BLM cause is noble and just and everything that America should be. We fight for police reform. We fight for racial equality. Freedom from an oppressor, which is a police state. We fight for Rayshard Brooks, Daniel Prude, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Tatiana Jefferson, Ora Rosser, Stephon Clark, Botham Jean, Philando Castile, Alton Sterling, Michelle Cassou, Freddie Gray, Tanisha Fonville, Eric Gardner, Akay Gurley, Gabriela Navarez, I can't pronounce names, Tamir Rice, Michael Brown, Tanisha Anderson, and all of those suffering inside the injustice of an American system that is broken. We do not wish to destroy America, but to make America what it should be, a place where all can have justice. This does not compare to MAGA or what happened on January 6th. And this is why I am here today. So, if you're good with it, I'd like to start with the Twitter beef. Why this kind of happened? Because I think that's kind of important, CJ.
Yeah, absolutely. So real quick though, I just would sort of say, as a brief sort of, I guess, opener, if you will, for my own self, I definitely do believe that there are police brutality problems, and I've talked about that since about September 2016 when I first started doing Watchdogs over on Facebook, which was the first thing I ever did. It was, in fact, the very first video that I ever posted was on the issue of police brutality. And I would remind folks that actually for a long time was an issue that, while not exclusively right-wing, was always talked about on the right wing. In fact, the person I heard it from originally, though he has since fallen off the wagon, and I will definitely admit that, was Alex Jones. Alex Jones, when I was a 12-year-old, was the person who was bringing up the murders of people by police officers, the ICE abuses at the border, the TSA abuses, NSA abuses, so on and so forth, right? And while some men like Alex Jones may have fallen off the wagon because of the Trump train, there are other men who were conservative back then, like, for example, Ron Paul, who are on that same wagon and who I still listen to today. I am not in any way, shape, or form here to defend Trumpism, though in certain instances I will absolutely defend Trump supporters and Trump. It's a case-by-case issue, right? Like, for example, if somebody were to go into the protest this 6th, right on the 7th. I'm pretty sure
we are here because you have been equating what happened on January 6th with the Trumpers to the activists within the Black Lives Matter movement.
Right, and I will stick by that for sure. And I hope that you'll be able, we were talking about, honest interlocutorship. I believe you're an honest interlocutor as well. So I appreciate you saying those things. I mean, whether or not you agree with me is perfectly fine. I wish nothing more than to be heard for what I am actually saying when I have this conversation, right? I do not believe that the MAGA crowd storming into the Capitol this weekend was justified under any circumstances. And I have been clear on that since the events started breaking.
Where? Because I looked back and I haven't seen anything. I have seen I've seen a couple things that kind of imply that you think it's wrong, but I haven't seen a denunciation of it. And I've seen a whole lot of stuff going at leftists about Black Lives Matter protests and the violence done there.
Well, you're certainly going to find a lot of that because I mean, to just be honest with you, I do find
I've got a lot of it prepped and queued to go.
No, I know. And I like I said, I mean, I know that it's there because I posted there for a reason. I think that there is an immense level of hypocrisy in the defending of one violent action and not another. Now, I know what the argument is going to be. It's going to be something along the lines of the causes are different. But the thing is,
not really.
And this is part of the reason why and if that's not, that's fair. But this is what I've heard from most people. So I do want to at least give a brief response to it. There have been many folks who say, no, the MAGA crowd is trying to do this thing and the Black Lives Matter crowd is trying to do this other thing, as if there isn't nuance between the two, as if for example, MAGA crowd, as much as I disagree with their storming of the Capitol, you and I both know, at least if you're talking to these people, that they genuinely believe that their country is being stolen from them. They're not trying to install fascism. They're trying to keep their democracy, and they might be wrong about that, but
believe based on what evidence, though?
What?
I mean, based on what evidence do they believe that their country is being stolen from them?
See, but the point of that, though, is that isn't the point of what I'm saying.
But it should be, because, I mean, Black Lives Matter actually has statistics. We have facts. We have history.
We're going to get to that, though. We haven't, like I said, we have over an hour to talk about this, right? But when you make the claim, these people are trying to, establish fascism. These people are just redneck hick traitors, right? That is not
clearly fascism.
No there at all.
It's clearly fascism.
You might think, all right, if Trump is fascism, that's fine, though. But again, I am talking about Trump supporters, the people who stormed the Capitol, wrong as they were. I am not defending
it.
them.
Was fashion. They literally had the plastic cuffs so they can take not only Democrats but Mike Pence and execute them.
I mean, I certainly don't think anybody was going to get executed. Trust me. There was no way that was.
They were literally as they went into the Capitol, they were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." Okay, over and over again.
They were chanting "pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon."
No, that's actually a misrepresentation. That's no, actually, if you watch the whole video, it's a known misrepresentation. They chanted it for about 2 minutes with police on the side laughing. They discussed it with police beforehand. They were getting along with police the entire time. They had no altercation with police during that protest. Yes, they chanted that, but quite different than what happened on January 6th, CJ.
Okay, so do you hear what you just said though, Rage? You just said yes, they did chant that.
Yes, they chanted it. Yes, they chanted it. They discussed it with the police there on the spot and said, "Hey, we're going to chant this." The police were cool with it.
True, which I highly doubt.
Watch it all. It's been thoroughly debunked. All the shit that y'all say about that moment has been thoroughly debunked.
I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that because there is no possible way that every single piece of evidence that has come out against Black Lives Matter is incorrect. It's just
no. I don't say that. I don't. That's not my claim. I've never made that claim. But speed it along because like my claim is this. I've been very consistent. I actually called out the violence during the Black Lives Matter protest. John Peterson called out the violence during the Black Lives Matter protest. We called out the leftist and we'll get to some of your posts because I've got them all queued. You say we have an hour, so that's probably not going to give me time to get to everything. But like the all cops are bastards. John Peterson has spoken out against that several times on my channel, and I have reiterated what he has said. You can't assume that all cops are evil and not doing their jobs. This isn't about all cops are evil, all cops are bastards. This is about a systematic issue within our country that is visible to the naked eye. Visible to the naked eye. All those names that I listed, can you say her name? Can you say Breonna Taylor? Because she hasn't had justice yet. Now, all those white people with their persecution complex, CJ, is not the same. Because they were lied to by a president is not the same. Because they're idiotic enough to believe shit without evidence is not the same. You cannot equate the two.
All right, so let's kind of break down for a little bit, right? So, first thing. Just on the violence itself, because that is the reason that we're here in the first place.
Two very different things. So, all right. So, for one, if you're talking about Black Lives Matter protest and the violence that ensued there, a lot of that violence was instigated by the police. They are protesting police brutality. Police responded in kind. Do you deny that there was a disproportionate amount of police presence compared to a Black Lives Matter protest and what we saw on January 6th?
It depends on the place. DC, yeah, I'll grant you that for sure. In DC, that was absolutely the case.
All over the place.
But in like certain areas like Seattle, for example, I mean, in Seattle, the police did literally nothing.
There was that's wrong. There was clashes between the police until zones were made, and the government of Seattle backed off. In fact, you guys criticized the government of Seattle for backing off.
Well, yeah,
incessantly. But you're acting like there was no clashes there. There was clashes everywhere. I'm not saying that all of the clashes were instigated by the police. I'm saying that most of them were, and most of them were a huge police presence abusing citizens. When it was in No Dapple, CJ, it was the police abusing peaceful protesters. This was not the case in January 6th. There was a very little police presence, and it was the protesters doing the violence.
So I can tell you the ones that I'm familiar with as far as BLM. Those would be Portland, Seattle, Washington, D.C., Minneapolis, and Atlanta. And in only one of those places, Minneapolis, did the police actually act in a oppressive fashion. In fact, actually that's not true. In D.C., the church shooting incident was actually pretty egregious. But before then, they were just there. They weren't actually doing anything. They were just simply there standing at the statue.
So do you understand that a riot is different than an insurrection?
Yeah, absolutely. But hang on, Rage. And this is why I'm saying that this is like why I'm questioning certain levels I'll just be frank with it, honesty, right? You do know, and I know you know because you watch the news, that BLM and Antifa and these other, and sometimes people who weren't even a part of the groups, they just wanted to go do stuff, because we both know that happens in both these protests, right? A lot of these people were storming government buildings, were burning down police precincts. They took over Capitol Hill in
what government buildings? I mean, I agree that some police precincts, although, like, if you want to talk about like the original police precinct in Minnesota that was burned, the person that initiated that burn turned out to be a right-wing agitator. That is fact. That is evidence. He was arrested. In fact, a lot of the people instigating a lot of the violence on the so-called BLM side were right-wing agitators. We know this because the FBI put out a report upon it. We have actual evidence of that. You see, they're trying to say it was Antifa now, even though, like, we have video and we see the known QAnon members right there at the front line. No Antifa. I mean, nobody was covering their face because they're all Trumpers and stupid. You know, Antifa covers their face, right? That's the point of Antifa. That's what the Black Hat Antifa does, right? So, I mean, it doesn't equate, CJ. So what you're talking about is a movement that has been going on in this country since before the Civil War. And that is the equality of black people in this country.
A lot of specific things that a lot of civil rights people do not agree with. And you know that just as well as I do. Black Lives Matter is very left-wing, the organization at least.
The leadership are LGBTQ plus, and I think two of them are Marxist.
Yes.
Two of them. But what does that have to do with the movement? The leadership of the organization, mind you. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about these women. I admire these women. You look down on them probably because what? They're LGBTQ plus and they're Marxist.
I don't have a problem with, I mean, obviously, you know, from the religious perspective, I obviously believe that it's sin. But as far as like politically, I mean, I have no problem with somebody being gay politically. You're right. I mean, I used to listen to Milo Yiannopoulos when I was a teenager. There's nothing wrong with it. My problem would be Marxism. I think that the Marxism is it's.
So you have a problem with Marxism, but you don't have a problem with fascism. You don't seem to have much of a problem with what happened, and you want to equate the two because they're totally different things. But I do can I share my screen because I would like to get to how this thing started, like why this started, because I really think that's important because the Mad Ducks, John Maddox was like really like stupid. And I called him out, and you got kind of butthurt about it. So, I mean, I just think that that's kind of important. So I'll share it with you. That's my screen there. I'll put it up for my audience.
So real quick, though, before you say that, I just need to point out, hang on, there's something here that's, just a second. Okay, is that, all right. No, I don't know how that's, I think I gotta mute your screen.
Oh, because of the echo. Yeah. All right. You could remove the screen share until you're ready to actually show it, because that'll take away the echo. Okay. StreamYard now. It sucks.
So basically, the only thing I want to say, right, is you just actually, and I don't know if you realize it, but you actually just kind of contradicted yourself there. You said you seem to not have a problem with fascism, and then you said you equate them to the Black Lives Matter protesters. And you need to understand, and obviously I could be wrong. I'm open to being wrong. Let's see if I'm wrong, right? But though I consider those people who burned down precincts and took over Chaz and all that stuff, I consider them terrorists. So when I compare these people, I'm calling the people.
Yeah, because you've been told by a president that Antifa is terrorist when nobody recognizes them.
Not the point, though.
Nobody recognizes Antifa as terrorist. Nobody.
The point is, come on.
Except for Trump. We got to
at least stick at one point each individual time.
I know, but you brought that up. I didn't.
I know that you're not listening to my point. The point is that if I am comparing the two, then what I am saying is these people who stormed the Capitol are terrorists. So you can't say I'm going easy on them. I'm calling them terrorists.
All right, but like you don't imply that. You don't imply that at all. And I've got plenty of stuff to show that. In fact, you embrace them. I've got something. All right, I'll just go ahead and pull this up. This I'm not going to share. Well, yeah, they'll see it. It's you quoted a Todd Engel. I think it was on Facebook. And you seem to really respect this dude. And his message was, this is a message to anyone that was at the Capitol yesterday and engaged with, fought with, or scared a federal officer. Expect a federal indictment. Get your affairs in order. Contact your attorney. Prepare your family for this inevitability. After arrest, you will not be granted bail. You will fight your case from a federal holding facility. You will be facing a slew of charges even though you feel you did nothing wrong. You will receive a plea bargain deal for 5 to 10 years. If you do not take the deal and choose to go to trial and lose, they will double or triple your sentence. Also, you will not get a fair trial. It will be a show trial in a kangaroo court. Heed my words. Please prepare for these eventualities. And the most important part, may God be with you and us for what is ahead. How is that denouncing these people in any way? That is, may God be with you. Protect yourself from this evil government, CJ. So, I mean, let's be truthful here.
Yeah, let's absolutely be truthful. So let's look at a couple things. All right, I gotta mute this. So first things first. You brought up you seem to have a lot of respect for Todd Engel, and I will say, absolutely I do. Absolutely I do. Because the thing
I have no idea who that is. I just saw the quote, and I'm like, all right, so you're going to run away from embracing what happened at January 6th, and here you're basically telling these people, may God bless them, and please protect yourself from this evil government.
No, so, see, and this is one of the reasons why I think that it is always a little, I don't know, ridiculous to kind of like look at, oh, well, this person said this and therefore, right? Well,
that was the argument on Twitter. I'm like the argument on Twitter was, I can only go based upon what I'm seeing, and I'm seeing a whole bunch of shit. I got a whole bunch of shit, CJ.
Let me say what I'm trying to say, though. First off, you'll notice when I retweeted that, it did come with my own personal message, which was, you might want to listen. He knows a little bit about what he's talking about. Or you might say he knows what he's talking about or has done his research or something like that. I can't remember exactly how I
don't care. For one, I don't care about his personal story. He is talking to people that were planning on hanging Mike Pence, a person I despise. I don't like the guy, from a freaking tree.
I'm sure some of them were, but like we just pointed out, some Black Lives Matter.
The president basically told him to, CJ.
No, he did not. And
do I need to play the video? I got the video queued up.
Can we stay on one particular point?
There's so much here. I mean, you're equating these people to Black Lives Matter. I didn't fucking do it. You did it.
We can talk about it. All right. If we're just jumping all over the place, we're not going to get to any actual.
Go ahead. I can hear you. I'm going to calm the fuck down because I'm getting angry.
Okay. So what Todd Engel is saying there, and what I am retweeting or reposting that, because that Facebook, is these people who did something which they probably did not think would cause any sort of an issue with them, right? Which they probably just going home, think they're going to live their lives, all that other kind of stuff, right? This is a warning to them. No, that is not the case. You are about to be in for a very rough time, and Todd Engel knows that personally, which is why I am sharing that. Now, his situation is significantly different, in my opinion. However, that is the point of sharing that post. And it's explicitly the point of sharing that post. It's obviously explicitly the point of sharing that post because it's explicitly what the post says. It's a warning to people. It's not endorsing or condemning. He's saying, God bless you. That's perfectly fine. I obviously do hope some God blessings to some of these people because you and I both know, and I know you know this, that there was a lot of people in that crowd who were just in the crowd, who didn't actually think things were going to pop off the way that they did. It's probably even the majority of them. Right. And we all know this because that's the way all of these protests work. That's the argument that the right has been getting constantly each time a protest gets violent that's run by leftists. Right. We know this. This is nothing more than a warning to people saying you think you're playing a game and you're not. And you said, where are you having?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. That's not the question. We're talking about the people that stormed the Capitol. The numbers I've heard, 200,000 people were at the protest, CJ. Literally, in my stream yesterday, I made this distinction. I took time to make this distinction. See, no, the right doesn't make that distinction. The right tries to equate the 97% of peaceful protest that has been Black Lives Matter with the 3% of riots that have happened. That's the right that does that, not the left. I was fair in my criticism. A lot of the left are. Not all the left, but a lot of the left are. No, 200,000 people were at that protest. 1,000 or 2,000 people stormed the Capitol. Those are the numbers reported.
Okay.
And if you actually saw what happened inside that Capitol, I got a little bit of it queued up, maybe. I'm not sure if I actually settled on that because I have so much, and I know we was on limited time. But that video's out there. I mean, it was atrocious. I literally heard a right-wing pundits talking about the woman that got shot in the neck. Like, I don't know why they shot her. Like, seriously, look at the video. Look at the fucking video.
So first off, I guess with that, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure her back was turned to the officer, and I'm also pretty sure the officer shot in such a way that had he missed, he would have actually hit another officer. So that was definitely. I'm
not sitting here defending the police. I'm saying look at the chaos. Have you seen the video? You seen the chaos that ensued? You seen the chaos of them trying to get in there? They were trying to get their hands not only on politicians, CJ, but on the electoral ballots. They want their intention. All right, so fuck the whole protest, right? So the whole protest is about overturning a free and fair election. Are you what kind of Republican / right wing person are you that you're willing to completely shit on the Constitution? You blame this. This is your argument against the left, and you have been doing nothing but demonizing the left. You say that the left want to shit on the Constitution, but you guys are shitting on the Constitution.
Did you not just say that there were probably 200,000 people there and maybe 1,000 to 2,000 stormed the Capitol?
Yes, and we are talking about the people that stormed the Capitol, and so was that person. Again, this is a message to anyone that was at the Capitol yesterday. He's not talking to the people that didn't go to the Capitol. He's talking to the people that did go to the Capitol.
Well, all 200,000 of them are at the Capitol.
No, they weren't. I showed Marcus Rogers' video roaming around. I clearly said Marcus Rogers is not obviously one of the ones, but you can clearly see the crowd that's up at the Capitol separated from the rest of everybody fucking else, CJ.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not denying that, but I don't understand even why that's a point.
You made the point that there's a difference, and I have already made that point because I'm fucking consistent. I've made that point about every single Black Lives Matter protest when I called out the violence and still kept true to the cause of what they're standing for, which is racial inequality. You spend your time demonizing Black Lives Matter, but you do not demonize what happened at the 6th. I went all the way back on your timeline. You have not done it. You refer to like it's wrong. But then you have shit like that. And that's just a little bit of it. See, like, if we fight for secession, which is another thing, you want to secede, which that's the conversation we need to have. Matt Blosh, the Capitol building wasn't raised. But, like, I want to get to what, like, I'm sharing on screen. Because the original thing here was the Twitter spat. You said, today I saw Matt Walsh, Ted Cruz, real Donald Trump, Roger Stone, Dinesh D'Souza. And this was on January 6th. Senator Mike Lee, Rand Paul, many other conservatives voicing opposition to the riots in D.C., yet none of our leftist friends were willing to condemn violence for months on end, which is complete bullshit. Again, I'm a leftist that did. John Maddox comes in, and he says, I'm sorry, but that doesn't qualify as a quote-unquote riot, in my opinion. Literally, nothing got set on fire. People were telling other people not to break stuff and was pretty much wrapped up by 5 p.m. Now, I responded to John Maddox, figured you would be a traitor too. Everyone should call out every single one of these traitors. They should all be exposed for the fake Americans they are. Traitors. Mad Ducks is a traitor. You didn't quote tweet John Maddox for saying it's not a riot. I mean, come on, it was wrapped up by 5. You quote tweeted me, CJ. Me. And that's how this beef fucking started, right?
Well, you do realize that you just called me a traitor, right? You said...
I was talking to Maddox.
Right. But
Mad Ducks is a traitor.
You're talking to me, and then Maddox...
And then you quote tweeted me, not Maddox, so yes, I have to assume you're in the Maddox camp. Not to mention, you're pretty cool with fucking Confederates.
Why do you say figured you would be a traitor too if the person you were just talking to is not the person you referred to as two?
This is a response to John Maddox.
I know, but two implies that there's somebody else you're talking about. Who's that?
I'm talking about the people that fucking raided the goddamn Capitol. John Maddox is here talking about the people who raided the Capitol. It's not a riot. Shit, it was wrapped up by 5 p.m. And I'm like, yeah, John, I figured, John Maddox, I'm not surprised you're a traitor too.
All right, well, I took that as you saying I was the other traitor. You saying...
Well, no, I was talking to Maddox. You quote tweeted me, and I'm like, all right, motherfucker, it's go time now. Because you're obviously taking Maddox's side.
No, not on that situation for sure. I don't think that there's any argument that this is absolutely a riot, and I've been referring to it as a riot the whole time.
Insurrection is a better word.
Say again?
Insurrection is a better word.
I got to be honest, I don't give it that much credit. I think these people were like, I mean, had they actually taken the Capitol and killed some politicians, it would have ended there and they would have been slaughtered.
Do you know what insurrection means?
Yeah. Insurrection is like an armed rebellion to try and overthrow the government.
A violent uprising against an authority or government. What else could that be? Trying to storm the Capitol? I mean, directed by the president to storm the Capitol and convince, not the Democrats, although they were going to probably kill a few Democrats, but convince those weak Republicans that don't agree with the president to change their vote. And Mike Pence, who's going to do what he was supposed to do constitutionally, to change his vote or else. So they went up into the Capitol chanting, hang Mike Pence. In fact, you know what? They set up a gallows, CJ. They had a noose. If they'd have got their hands on Mike Pence, he'd be a dead-ass Christian.
And again, I have not, nor will I ever be defending that, right?
Well, but can you not see how it seems like since that happened, it's been nonstop attacks on BLM, not attacks on what happened there, but Black Lives Matter. Do you not see an issue with that, CJ?
I just have to correct the record on that because that's just not true. I have absolutely used a lot of trying to basically call people out because I believe it's hypocritical to support, because let's be honest, right? The George Floyd riots killed 30 some odd people. They did $2 billion in damage.
January 6th on your Twitter, you posted, if you were indignant at Antifa/BLM, this was right after this happened, CJ, this is your response. If you were indignant at Antifa/BLM for rioting and attacking police officers, you are on no ground to support conservatives bursting into the Capitol. Likewise, if you supported BLM Antifa riots, you are on no grounds to criticize conservatives bursting into the Capitol. Your response was to equate Black Lives Matter to what you just saw happen.
Yes, because like I just said, Black Lives Matter killed 30 some odd people. They did $2 billion in damage.
Because as I said, the FBI have released a report. A lot of that violence was done by right-wing agitators, people in the Boogaloo Boys, people in far-right libertarian groups such as Sovereign Citizens, even known white supremacist groups. Not all of that violence can you put on the hands of Antifa. Now, I'm not going to take away their violence. I'm going to say that they did do some violence. But you're trying to put everything on them. What about the police instigation? What about the police presence? What about the police instigating these incidents? How much of that blood goes on the police's hands, CJ? You're putting it all on BLM here.
Let's say half then. That's still 15 people dead. That's still $1 billion in damage.
15 billion dead. How many black people have been murdered? I read off a whole list when we started this stream. I could keep reading for hours and hours and hours and hours. You want to talk about 15 people?
It's cool. So it's cool now. And by the way, let's just point something out. Okay. At least I think this is the 2019 statistic. There were like 9 or 10 unarmed black men killed in 2019 by police.
So,
right?
Yep. And this is a white supremacist argument, which is what I got from you during our entire. This is what I got from you, our entire conversation about Confederate statues. So you'll place argumentation around the fact that you're going to support white supremacy and Confederates. And that's my question: are you indeed a Confederate? So here's the thing about you, CJ. You're like, I'm not a Trump supporter, but then out of your own mouth, I hear you say, yeah, I didn't vote for him in 2016, but I voted for him in 2020. That actually makes you like one of the worst Trump supporters because, yeah, you didn't vote for him when you didn't know what he was. But you voted for him when you did know what he was, right? And then just The shift in balance in your criticism of Black Lives Matter and these fucking traitors is almost as bad as the shift in balance of the police response to Black Lives Matter and these fucking traitors, CJ. And if you can't see the inherent white supremacy involved in all of that, I cannot help you, my friend.
Okay, so you're conflating so many different issues.
I'm the one conflating.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, because when you say, this is just a white supremacist argument, no, it is not. It is a fact. That is how many unarmed black people died that year, right? That is just simply a fact. And all
right, so let's do that per capita. So look at that number per capita.
Hang on. And have been against police brutality since late 2016 when I was 18 years old making videos.
Then why are you against a movement that's against police brutality?
Because that's not all they're about, Rage. They killed people
you can support Black Lives Matter without supporting the organization. I have done it for the last 5 years since I stopped being involved with the organization, CJ.
Okay, and I do definitely support people, but the thing is if you say Black Lives Matter, it comes with that baggage. So that is why I say I am against police brutality.
That's baggage for you.
It is.
It's baggage for you.
I don't want that baggage. I don't associate with that group, that evil, terroristic group that kills people and that supports an ideology which I find despicable.
All right, so give me citation of the murders that Black Lives activists have committed.
Like I said, there was like 30 some odd people killed in those riots. Did you know that?
People dead in police altercations that usually the police started those altercations. A lot of those murders, right wing. So, but no. Give me the citations of people murdered by Black Lives Matter, by actual activists. You say this is a dangerous terrorist group.
So I just want to
know.
So
you're equating the deaths that happened within
ask you this question.
You're equating the deaths that happened within a movement to the actual cause. Are you
claiming that they didn't kill anybody? Are you claiming that they killed absolutely no one?
No.
Okay, then, boom! I just won that point.
No, you didn't.
How not?
Because essentially, if police are going to respond overwhelmingly, shoot tear gas at you, shoot you with rubber bullets when you are exercising your First Amendment rights, you should fight back, CJ.
Which happened in one city, which is not the city where the majority.
It happened in almost all of them. What are you talking about?
No, it did not.
Bullshit.
That's a lie.
Bullshit. It's documented evidence. What are you even talking about right now?
Right, so there was a huge police presence when they literally.
I was in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and there was a huge police presence 3 days after that. What are you talking about? They were shooting us with tear gas, with rubber bullets, fire hoses. What are you talking about?
I'm sorry, I just don't buy that. I watch this news all the time.
Go check it out. Like, there was riots in Grand Rapids. Yeah, we kind of bucked back. We were tossing over police cars. I say we. I left because shit got crazy and I had a kid at home. But they were. Because the police instigated that fucking violence. And then after that, Grand Rapids calmed their chill. I was also very consistent when the police officers in Flint, Michigan, put down their riot gear, joined the Black Lives Matters protesters, as all police officers that are truly good people should have done to begin with. Because it is inherently impossible to see that there isn't police brutality and that it isn't directed towards minorities. Now, it has gotten better. All the shit indicate that. We have grown more progressive. We have made progress. The problem is here, those MAGA guys, they want to take all that progress away. That's the problem here.
I mean, look, I know
it is true. You want to so you want us to secede. You want us to secede from the country.
I do think it would be best if we split at this point. Yeah, I mean, it seems to me like it's either peaceful separation or a violent war, and I don't.
So you are not an American.
That's not true.
Well, what do you consider yourself?
I would consider myself to be an American. I personally believe.
So you want to secede, and then all of us leftists, we can't be the Americans.
I mean, you guys can call yourself Americans too. There's North and South Korea. I don't have a problem with that.
So how would that work? All right, let me ask this question. Does that? I mean. Do you want to fight? Do you want to kill people for that? Like, how does this work?
No, I think I genuinely believe that a separation, a willing separation, would actually avoid civil war. That is why I want it.
How? So how do you secede? How do you secede from the Union legally and constitutionally?
Well, the Constitution originally actually said nothing about secession. It's only a Supreme Court ruling that came after the Civil War that actually says anything about that.
Yeah, the Civil War determined
Supreme Court ruling.
The Civil War kind of determined the question of secession. Everybody agrees on that. Has for 150 years.
That's not true at all.
Oh, bullshit. I just literally looked it up today. That's what everybody says. That's what everybody says. That's what everybody says.
There's a huge number of people that say that doesn't actually equate. And there's a reason that, I mean, think about this.
On the right. So what would your country look like? Would it be a Christian? Would it be a Christian theocracy? Would it be MAGA country? What would it look like?
Okay, so that's what you mean. No, it would be a constitutional republic. It would just obviously have the conservative interpretation of that, which I assume your guys' probably would be too, with the more progressive interpretation.
The conservative interpretation, is that the far right wing, evangelical interpretation of what conservatism is, which includes, pretty much the Christian narrative involved, God's law.
No, that's not true either.
How is that not true?
I mean, who do you know who's actually going about and saying they want to establish a theocracy? Like, give me a name.
Oh, plenty of evangelicals want to establish a theocracy. Billy Graham. I mean, I could give you the conventional ones like Matt Powell, Stephen Anderson, all of them.
Wait, hang on. Billy Graham, like the guy who just died?
Or his son, whatever his son's name is. Yeah, that douchebag.
So do you have a quote about that, Franklin, saying that we should?
I'm not prepared for this one, CJ. I got everything else.
Okay, well, that's fair. But I'm gonna be honest with you. I call BS because
he's a Christian nationalist who thinks that his severe Christian evangelicism should be involved in politics, and that.
What do you mean by should be involved in politics? Do you mean that he should?
No. My question is: in your country, do women have freedom?
Of course.
Gay people?
Of course. I've actually said to you multiple times, I don't think it is the government's job to be even involved in my
So do you think the people that are going to lead the secession are going to be having those same answers?
Yeah, actually, because a lot of the people, I'll tell you what, the flyover country that people like to make fun of all the time,
we're not being
in
honest.
Idaho and Montana, in Alaska, right, in these places, we want the government to be out of our business. That's what we want. We want small governments. We want low taxes. We want the ability to have our guns and smoke.
Do you think the people that stormed the Capitol yesterday would answer the same?
Specifically the ones who stormed the Capitol? No.
The MAGA guys. The guys, I mean...
No, I'll grant you that.
The people that are leading this movement. The people... All right, so this is what... This is why talking to you gets so fucking frustrating. So you're essentially describing the country that we have, but yet you want to secede.
No, that's not accurate at all. And let me explain, actually, because so first and foremost, I think that it is very vital for us to have an understanding of what exactly is or is not liberty. So as an example, right, the Christian baker, right? Now, I don't believe Twitter should be held legally accountable for what it's doing for the same reason that I don't believe that the Christian baker in Colorado should be held legally accountable for not baking for a gay wedding. However, in the current United States of America, there seems to be an awful lot of pushback on that. And frankly, if you want to have that pushback, I think you should have that right. But I don't want that pushback. I want the company to have that right, right? So if you want to live in a country where people actually do have to be legally required to, participate in the market on the government's terms, then that's fine. I think you should have that right. But I don't. I want to participate on the market's terms. I'll give you another example, universal health care. I'm not opposed to a safety net like Medicaid, although I think it should be limited and people need to take into account the budget and stuff like that. But you want universal health care. Fine. If we split, you can have your universal health care and
But that's not how it works. Like so all right. So if we split into two, do you think the powers that be right now, the two powers would be the left and the right? Who runs the right?
It's, to be honest with you, as somebody who...
There's one name right now, dude.
No. Hang on. Let's be clear. That's not true.
Bullshit.
Because, no, that's just not accurate. That's something that you can only think if you are a leftist. I'm just being honest with you.
All right, so give me another name. Who runs the right, CJ? I'm asking.
So there could be a lot of
who's going to lead this secession and make this.
That's what I'm saying. There would have to be an election because, like,
what you're saying is absolutely ridiculous bullshit.
No, it's not. This has happened.
It's un-American. I mean, yeah, it happened before. You know why? Because they wanted to keep their slaves.
No, that is such bull, dude. Don't compare this to trying to keep slaves. Nobody's.
The last time any state seceded, it was over slavery, CJ. How can I not compare that?
Because there's nobody trying.
I lived in the South with a bunch of fucking redneck Southerners talking about secession, talking about the South will rise again. I know what it means. I know what the dog whistles mean. Stop running away from it. You defend the Confederate statues. You are a Confederate. You talk about secession. Tell me what it really means.
I've been telling you.
You give me shit, CJ. You give me shit.
Peaceful split.
You give me shit. You're talking about a fucking atrocious nightmare of a country that you expect that other side to just sit back as you put the fucking red dresses and white caps on your women and tell those black people to work those fields.
See, and this is what I'm talking about, dude. Like, how can you expect to have honest dialogue when you're saying
because you're giving me bullshit.
That's wrong.
You want to set up an exactly similar fucking system where everybody's free, but yet you just get to be Republicans. It's the Republicans trying to take the freedom away from gay people. What are you talking about?
That is not the case. Dude, like, why can't you just represent me honestly? Seriously, how difficult is it? How difficult is it? Okay, I have not at any point in time said we're going to take away women's right to vote or put African Americans rather in slavery. That is wrong. Okay.
No, but you defend Confederacy. You defend the Confederacy. You defend Confederate statues. You go around demonizing Black Lives Matter because they're gay and they're socialist, communist fucks. That's what you do, CJ. Can you not see it?
That is what I said, because they are socialists.
That is my accusation, and I made it pretty clear to you. I made it my accusation of you is that you are a Confederate that tries to go around and argue your way and to make it reasonable. And it doesn't fucking work.
Well, you're wrong. Okay, that's just flat out false.
Only Confederates defend Confederates. Only Confederates defend Confederates.
Say that again?
Only a Confederate would defend Confederates.
That's not true. That
bullshit.
Is so not true. Dude, Abraham Lincoln defended Confederates. Abraham Lincoln and Andrew Johnson wanted to make peace rather than keep the nation separated. You know that. You are so aware of that.
Yeah, we got Jim Crow out of that bullshit.
No, we got Jim Crow out of Andrew Johnson. We definitely wouldn't have got it out of Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was not about that. Andrew Johnson, I'll grant you that.
We got Jim Crow because they didn't prosecute those traitors for what they were because they were afraid that they would be acquitted. And what that would look like if it happened. And you know that's the truth.
So are you... I don't know how to respond to that. Like, there's no way that you're even allowing people... You constantly, dishonestly represent what I'm saying, and then you're returning it back to saying...
I can only go based upon what I see, dude. I can only go based upon what I see.
Dude, that's not true. Okay? I have never at any point in time implied anything close to what you are saying.
Dude, we spent 2 hours arguing about Confederate statues and how you think that they should fucking stay up.
Yeah, and my argument for that was, if you recall, that the individual men being admired, number one, may have had their own differences, and this is why we look at them uniquely, person to person. And number two, that I believe the current group that wants to take down these statues simply wants to erase history, which, by the way, 6 months later has been proven substantially true because they're now going after Abraham Lincoln statues, George Washington statues, Theodore Roosevelt statues. There was even statues of people who were black, by the way, like Frederick Douglass and the groups that fought for the Union during the Civil War, right? So this has been 100% the case. 100% the case. What's your point?
My point is simply, why do you keep equating Black Lives Matter to these racist scumbag MAGA fucks? They're not the same. I pointed out. All right, so you say they're the same. Let's talk about that. Most Black Lives Matter protests have been peaceful. 97% of Black Lives Matter protests have been peaceful. The police were often the instigators during the quote-unquote riots. Police response to Black Lives Matter protests have almost always been overwhelming. Black Lives Matter protests against police brutality and for racial equality with real evidence historically and statistically. the MAGAs that stormed the Capitol, protesting that Joe Biden stole the election from Donald Trump with absolutely no evidence whatsoever. Stormed the United States Capitol, planned on executing duly elected officials, want to overturn an election they lost, police letting them in, taking pictures with them. How does that compare to the Black Lives Matter protest?
I can do that exact same thing to you. Watch, you ready for this? So, Black Lives Matter group, which
I guess my mic is like super loud. I got it too close, maybe.
So I could only point out the Black Lives Matter groups, which so a group which wants to have unfettered rioting and destruction of police, a group which misattributes every single act where a black person dies to some level of racism, a group which wants to establish
prove any of that. I mean, no. See, everything that I said, CJ, was actually true. Everything that I said was actually true.
You've already admitted a couple of those things. You've already admitted. You've already admitted that they were Marxists, so you know that they want to establish.
I said the three leaders were.
Okay, there you go.
No, that's the three leaders of the organization. That's the three leaders of the organization. That's not the thousands of people in the street.
Yeah, you're right. The thousands of people in the street are the ones who light stuff on fire and kill people.
Well, no, usually that's the Boogaloo Boys and the Proud Boys, but some of them were probably Antifa.
Cut it in third, it's still, even if you cut it into third, it is hundreds of millions of dollars in damage and at least 10 people dead. Okay,
that happens during civil unrest and civil movements. When you're fighting for civil rights, shit's gonna get fucked up.
The only person Martin Luther King got killed was himself.
What?
I mean, that's pretty.
They were beaten. What?
Right, exactly. That's my point. He was willing to put himself into this.
You don't think people died during that movement?
No, you're still not listening to me.
No, people died during that movement.
Jr. was willing to be the person taking the brunt rather than dishing it out. Gandhi, same thing. Be the person taking the brunt rather than dishing it out. Jesus, same thing. Be the person taking the brunt rather than dishing it out.
Yeah. Black Lives Matter does that. Donald Trump didn't.
Black Lives Matter doesn't do that. You just admitted that they could kill people and burn stuff. Okay, you can't say, "Oh, well, that's just what happens in civil unrest."
No, I admitted that. I did not admit that Black Lives Matter kill people. I said I will admit that people died during the protest.
So you think no Black Lives Matter killed anybody in that?
I don't know. Give me evidence and I'll believe it.
I mean, the evidence is that they're the ones starting it and the ones having the protest.
Well,
I don't have to go and find the individual.
No, do you not understand how? So, do you not understand how civil movements work? Like, so if thousands of people are taking on to a protest, right? That's not all on the organization. That's not on those three people that you hate so much for being gay and Marxist, CJ.
For being Marxist, I know that you like to lie a lot, but it's strictly for being Marxist.
Well, most Christians will lump on that gay thing too. Come on.
Well, I mean,
and you're not some friend to homosexuality, so don't pretend some righteousness here.
No, I absolutely will, because there is nothing that you can actually pin on me here at any point in time on any of these things. I have never at any point in time had any sort of a racist ideology. I've never thought that homosexuals needed to be legally punished or anything like that, right? Like, you just don't have a case here.
No, you don't have to think that you don't think that homosexuals have to be legally punished to be homophobic. Do you think they're an abomination?
Do I think that they're an abomination? No, I think that the actions.
So your Bible can be wrong.
No. The Bible is very
can't be wrong.
Calling sin evil, in my opinion. It's not, but the people themselves can be redeemed. Christ
so
offers redemption.
So the actual homosexuality is evil. You see, I mean, come on, dude. I mean, come on. You're a Christian. Of course you don't like gay people. It's against your religion.
True. I want to see gay people saved. I want to see all people saved.
So you don't want them to be... When you say you want to see gay people saved, that means not being gay anymore.
Not necessarily, actually.
So Jesus would be cool. Jesus would be cool with the swords touching still.
No, and let me explain that. That's a good question, right? Now, obviously, it would I don't want anybody to be forced to do anything. I want people to genuinely have relationship with Christ, right? But I can tell you, as somebody who throughout my Christian walk has had some very serious struggles, that I don't believe the fact that you have struggles makes you not a Christian. That's just not the case. Just to give you a perfect example, right? One of the biggest, and you see this with like Covenant Eyes and stuff like that, one of the biggest pandemics in this particular community, the Christian community, right, is people who want to get out of what they consider to be a pornography addiction, right? I'm not going to endorse that because I think pornography is evil. I'm also not going to say, oh, you're not a Christian anymore. God doesn't love you anymore. That's completely ridiculous. There's no point to salvation.
We're off track.
If that's the way it is.
We're off track, and I brought us there. So I don't have my chat brought up, guys. I'm not really seeing chat. I'm just kind of seeing it on my OBS screen. I'm not saying that CJ is guilty of anything that the people at the Capitol did. I'm not even saying that CJ supports the people at the Capitol, although I do have indications that maybe he does. What I'm saying is, and why I'm here and what I led with is, if you're going to equate Black Lives Matter to what happened at that Capitol, that is 100% wrong. That's why I'm here. So I'm just putting that out to the chat. I'm not trying to lay blame on CJ for anything that happened at the Capitol. CJ wasn't there. CJ had nothing to do with it. But what CJ has done since the moment it started was equate it to Black Lives Matter. And not just that, but attack leftists as a general. Like, one of the quotes that I have, CJ, is, let me find it. This was a direct quote from you, I believe. Or I got it written down, actually.
Well, and for the record, while you're getting that, I'd just like to point out one of the direct quotes that you got from me, because it's one of the tweets I had personally, was actually calling out the protesters as well as the people who were mad at the protesters. Right, I was saying, if you were somebody who did not like violent protest from George Floyd, then you have no right whatsoever to support the people storming the White House. Right? That's a condemnation.
That was an implication that you condemn it, but your intent was to demonize Black Lives Matter. All right, so the quote was, liberals literally want to see you destroyed, quote unquote.
Okay, yeah, no, I think that's true, honestly, in a lot of his situations. In fact, it deeply worries me.
Liberals want to, so not the MAGAs storming the Capitol, but the liberal. I mean, not even communist or socialist liberals.
Well, actually, so there's two things there, because I can be on both in that, and I would be on both with that. I would point out, and I don't know if you watch any of the stuff that's actually on my channel, but I will point out that I have been pretty fiercely critical of Donald Trump in a lot of ways. For example, I have a video on my Unapologetics called Be Ye for Trump or Jesus, where I very strongly, for at least an hour, went out saying that if you are able to excuse Trump when he's calling himself the chosen one and retweeting things where he calls himself the second king of Israel, then you need to seriously question your Christian faith, right? That's something I have. I have another video on Apologetics Light called Evangelicals Buttigieg Problem, where I point out how any criticism, morally speaking, against Pete Buttigieg or Kamala Harris that a conservative might lob will be instantly thrown back at their face because they decided to support Donald Trump. I've been critical.
Why?
What?
Why?
Because Donald Trump's an immoral person. Come on, you know that. Donald Trump's been like thrice
divorced.
But
like criticisms against those two people in particular. So if they're legitimate, like if you're a Trump supporter and you have a legitimate criticism of anybody, I'm not going to dismiss your legitimate criticisms. The problem is Trump supporters don't have legitimate criticisms.
No, that's not even what I'm actually saying. It has nothing to do with Trump supporters. So it has to do with, from the conservative perspective, right? We've obviously always considered ourselves to be somewhat of, moral arbiters, and not in the sense that we dictate what morality is.
Yeah, that's long gone. That's long gone.
I mean, I don't disagree with that. I gotta be honest. And that's one of my biggest criticisms of the Donald Trump movement, is that I think conservatives.
But you voted for him in 2020.
I did vote for him in 2020, but there's a big difference between 2020 and 2016. By 2020, Donald Trump's cultural damage had already been done. There's nothing I could do about that anymore. But
what?
Yeah, no, because the things that Donald Trump was going to do to politics, as soon as he was elected, that was over. So, for example, with people, the polarization of politics that's been happening, right? I can't do anything to stop that anymore. Donald Trump's the president. There's going to be polarization. It's going to even bleed into the Biden administration. That's just the way it's going to go, right?
So he can't do any more damage, and yet Like overnight.
Overnight,
He literally did.
That is not what I said. You cannot do any more cultural damage.
Cultural damage. You don't. How far do you think he set back this whole like white civil rights movement with his antics on Wednesday?
I don't know what you mean by white civil rights movement.
You know what I mean. Come on, dude.
I honestly have no idea what you're referring to. But hang on, though, because I do need to defend why I voted for Donald Trump in 2020. The reason I voted for Donald Trump in 2020 is because, and you're even starting to see it now, even though you did see some other things post-election that are perhaps should have been anticipated a little more, I guess. I'll even admit that, right? I'm only human. But from the perspective that I have, right, and we've now seen that this is the case, what we're seeing is a lot of people who want to support this great reset, or at least in theory. People wanting to support the Green New Deal, which I think is absurd. People who want to push their personal opinions onto churches that are just trying to live their life. Like, for example, the Little Sisters of the Poor. It's not exactly a church, but forcing them to give. I think their issue was contraception, if I'm not mistaken. Which is ridiculous. I mean, the idea that you should get free contraception is insane. It literally costs $5. It literally cost $5.
But you don't like abortion, though.
Hang on, no. I'm not saying.
I mean, do you want to do something about abortion?
Contraception is wrong.
I'm saying, do you want to truly do something about abortion, CJ, without taking away people's rights?
I mean, yeah, absolutely.
All right, free contraception. That's your answer.
The thing is, though, you can't just like that. That's
you would drastically like if people could get free contraception, like it was free. Oh, dude, you would drastically drop the abortion rate, and the abortion rate been dropping like mad steady for like 10, 15 years. You do that, I mean, it's almost minuscule. It's not even a conversation anymore.
Okay, but you do understand.
You don't want to really get rid of
it. Saying that, like, you want to preserve life? Well, give me my free stuff, and I'll let you preserve life.
No, like, it's not. It's not. It's just it's providing something. All right, so you want people to be safe. You want and just across the board, you want to rein in STDs, right?
Yeah, of course.
You want to lower abortion. You want to rein in teenage pregnancy. No, dude, all the problems you solve with just one little. Just tiny bit of socialism, CJ. Just think about it. Think that abortion thing you Christians hate so much. Again, minuscule problem you don't even have to really worry about. I mean, if you want, you could, but man, just think how far you could go with just a little bit of socialism.
Okay, but I mean, that seems like extortion to me, though, right? You're basically saying I'm going to do all this evil stuff unless you're going to.
Well, I mean, it seems a better and easier solution than forcing women to do what you want. See, if you provide contraception, if you provide education, all of these things have been proven to bring these numbers down. Teenage pregnancy, STDs, abortion, unwanted pregnancy. I mean, all the statistics show that. And you're talking a minuscule fee. I mean, we can pump hundreds of billions of dollars into killing people every year in the military. We can't pump money into saving the unborn babies.
Well, hang on, though, because now, and this is why I constantly stress that my ideology is constitutionalism in the Ron Paulian vein. Okay, because I am not in any way, shape, or form about our military budget.
So are you a big L libertarian or just a libertarian?
A constitutionalist is the way I would put it.
Well, no, you can't be a constitutionalist and have any kind of like I don't know, like, all right, so you can't be a constitutionalist and think that a protest to overturn a free and fair election is valid. Right, like the election thing in the Constitution is pretty big and pretty vital to democracy. You can't be a constitutionalist. Like, let's say if you're willing to, I don't know, take your individual freedoms away from human beings.
Once again, I'm not, though.
Are you for getting rid of abortion?
Yes, but I don't think that that's a fundamental right, and there's no place in the Constitution that gives you that right.
There's no place in the Constitution that gives you that right.
Say that again.
There's no place in the Constitution that gives you that right?
Yeah, it's exactly the case. The Supreme Court in 1973 said it was the 14th Amendment, but that's just wrong, frankly. That's a misinterpretation of the 14th Amendment.
Let me get to it. Just a second. Internet's running a little slow. Probably got too much stuff open. Like super slow. Holy crap. Come on, get to it. All right. Pretty sure it's first paragraph. Let me get there. That's not giving me what I want. I'm trying to recall. I can't recall it word for word, so I'm trying to recall the first paragraph.
Well, for the record, while you're doing that, I'd just like to correct the record on my Twitter feed. So this is a retweet from me. No matter our political differences, let's all, and this is the first retweet I actually had on the issue. Let's all treat each other with respect and decency. Harassing your political opponents on a plane is not acceptable. I guess this was about Romney. Hang on. Let me go up. Got to go a little bit farther. That was, like I said, about Romney.
No, when the first paragraph. I'd have to really look through it. Go ahead.
So... Yeah, sorry, I went too far back because I thought that I had, but like I said, it turned out that was Mike Lee calling out the people who harassed Mitt Romney, not calling out the... All right, so here we go. So, violence is always unacceptable, even when passions run high. Anyone engaged in violence, especially against law enforcement, should be fully prosecuted. God bless the Capitol Police and the honorable men and women of law enforcement who show great courage keeping us all safe. That's a retweet from me from Ted Cruz. This is a retweet from me from Dinesh D'Souza. I don't approve of storming the Capitol. He does compare this, but isn't it the fact that Antifa and BLM did it? Right? So
no. I didn't misrepresent you in any way. And I'm not. I do hear echo now. Because no, I said you implied it, and through some retweets, I actually have those exact ones pulled up.
Hang on, that Ted Cruz one isn't an implication. That's pretty strong.
That's a retweet. You have not come out. You have not come out personally and denounced this at all. Well, you have come out with your own words. You've come out with your own words denouncing Black Lives Matter.
Not true.
Several times.
Right, so this is a retweet of Jack Pasibic. He says, and because I have a comment on it, he says, pray for our Capitol Police. They have families like everyone else. Be smart. I say civil war is not the answer. So that's obviously a condemnation of what the people are doing here. And obviously I wouldn't be retweeting this stuff if I didn't disagree with it. Like, for example, Dan Crenshaw's Stop the Bullshit.
No, it's not obvious. It's not obvious.
Why would I retweet that stuff then? I mean, come on. Like, you're trying to force me in a narrative that is plainly obvious by my tweets. No person who is being honest with my tweets could say that I defended these people. Nobody. I'm sorry. You're just not capable of being fully informed, fully honest, and coming to that conclusion because
bullshit. No, I saw all of that. No, I saw all of that, CJ, and I compared it. I compared it to the actions on January 6th. I compared it to what was coming out of your mouth about Black Lives Matter and what was coming out of your mouth about leftists. And no, it has been nothing but demonizing leftists, demonizing Black Lives Matter, equating these two events. That has been your main goal. Putting a sentence here, a sentence there. Oh yeah, civil war is not the way. How do you think? How else do you think that you will succeed? Because this little fairy tale that you're trying to promote, that you can somehow do that without violence, is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life, and it is not honest. It's not honesty. If you were being honest here, based on everything that I've seen from you on all of the social medias, and I don't even see the worst of it because you're all over those other sites as well. So based on just what I've seen from these sites, I have to conclude. I have to, based upon your staunch defense of Confederate statues, douchebag white supremacist like General E. Lee, like a douchebag in the highest order who owned slaves and was an atrocious human being. We should not be memorializing this person. Every black person in America has a freaking inherent right to be upset that he is memorialized. That if they have to look at that face every single day, I couldn't even put myself in those shoes, right? And then to constantly demonize the Black Lives Matter protest. You and John Maddox and all of your ilk have constantly not seen what they were trying to stand for, never gave them credit for what they were trying to ask for. You just talked about the violence, which a lot of it wasn't even them. And you don't do that with this. If you can't see why I'd be upset, especially based on what I showed from why all of this shit started with the Mad Ducks himself, CJ. No, I'm not trying to be dishonest. I'm not trying to say, that's why I brought you on to have this conversation. I want to hear your justifications, but I do think that you believe things that you're afraid to say because by implication, because you just don't defend these white supremacists without them.
But I don't defend white supremacy. I never have. In fact,
when you defend Confederate statues, you defend white supremacy. I don't care how far you want to run away from that.
That's just what I was going to say. The best example you could possibly give is my opinion on Confederate statues. And again, it is undeniable. 6 months after we had that first debate, that exactly what I feared would happen did happen. That is a fact, right? When I said these people, they're not going to stop with Confederate statues. That's not, and I even told you, if you can go back, watch that debate. I said, if I believe that society can be trusted to keep these things in a museum, then I will concede that. But as it stands now, I don't believe that at all. And you even agreed with that point because you at that time had some conflict with people in the whole SJW cancel culture thing, right? And it is undeniable at this point that is exactly what this particular group of the population wants to do. They don't just want Robert E. Lee dismissed, which Robert E. Lee's main reason for being revered, just so you know, is not because he was a good person, it's because he was a great general. It's the same reason we revere Hannibal.
Again,
right?
you're equating all of the left with a very minority aspect of the left when you're talking about cancel culture. Most of the people advocating to get rid of Confederate statues, most of them, even most of the Black Lives Matter people, are advocating that they be put into an American slavery museum.
Then why did they go after the Theodore Roosevelt thing that was in a museum in New York?
What do you
natural
mean?
History.
So every group has their crazies, CJ, and I'd have to know the particulars. Was this during a riot? Was this during a police altercation? And again, like there are some elements of the left that are completely fucking wacky. The difference between the right and the left right now is that the far left, the cancel culture left that you're talking about is a very minute aspect of the left. Most of the left is actually moderate. Most of the left consider me far left, and I'm not. I'm not at all. Not really, if you look in the far context of what the extreme leftists in America believe in compared to what I believe in. I'm not close. You would think I'm far left, but I'm not really. I say that I'm far left because that's in the context of the scale here in America. But like the difference between the left and the right is because, and not just Donald Trump, this happened before Donald Trump. Through the Tea Party, the extremism of the right consolidated and became the mainstream part of the party, right? So the moderates have been pushed out. Extreme? Oh, come on, dude. The Tea Party spent 8 years demonizing the first black president because he was black.
No, that's not true. Some of them did. I'll grant you some of them did. Hang on. No, hang on. You just got done saying not all of the different people in the left is this counterculture thing, right? Or not this counterculture thing, is this cancel culture thing, right? You have to be willing to offer that same thing back because
give me some of them. Give me some of them that didn't block Barack Obama at every single turn. Give me one Tea Partier that voted for Merrick Garland, that even gave him a chance to come and have an interview with him. I'll wait.
That has nothing. Hang on. That has nothing to do with race, though. The reason that people didn't want Merrick Garland, and whether you agree with it or disagree with it, was because that they didn't want Barack Obama to appoint another judge. Really, that's what it boiled down to. Had nothing to do with Merrick Garland.
You call yourself a constitutionalist? Wasn't that his constitutional right?
Yeah, and it was their constitutional right to fight it too. That's actually kind of the reason why I stepped back from the whole Amy Coney Barrett thing, because, frankly, I do think that both sides have the right to be indignant. I think that the left does have a right to say, hey, you guys demanded a different standard from us 4 years ago. That's totally true. And I also do think that, the right was wrong 4 years ago. So, it's not like what Trump was doing was wrong. And that like I said, that's why I just kind of stepped back from that whole situation to begin with. The only time I even jumped into it was to say, I don't agree with Amy Coney Barrett's record on civil liberties. and that to say that I thought that some of the criticisms against her were unwarranted, like criticisms of her Catholic faith, and there were random people who would go about talking about like, oh, she's an adopted mom and all that stuff.
Most of the criticisms of her faith wasn't the fact that she was a Catholic; it was the fact that she was a part of an extreme Catholic cult.
See, but even then, that's a lot of rhetoric, though, because like
you can agree we don't want cultists on our Supreme Court, right?
Well, yeah, of course, but I would.
She's a cultist.
I don't think that's true, though.
She's literally, I can't remember the name of the group, but like they're like one of the most extreme Catholic groups there is.
No, see, because I know what you're talking about. It's a group that basically says that they want to use their position of influence to influence in a Christian way, right? But that's not, I mean, you do that right now with your atheism. I'm doing that with my Christianity. There's nothing wrong with that.
I try not to, though. I really, like, my goal here, and I fail sometimes. I've converted atheist or Christians to atheism without meaning to. At least they tell me so. My goal is to talk to my own and talk to people like you and try to sort this shit out. Like I've come to my conclusions. And that's just based on what I've seen. And I'm not trying to misrepresent you. I'm just telling you what I've been seeing. And you know it, like, because me and John have talked to you. Came on my show one time, and you're like, I know I've been crazy on social media. I'm going to try to get on top of that, but then it just got crazier and crazier. And the thing that I want, and that I'm hoping that I can open your eyes to, because maybe you just don't see it, and maybe I'm seeing something that's not there. Maybe I'm seeing something that you just can't see about yourself. But just my interactions with you, because I do think you're an honest dude. I think that you're an honest interlocutor. My thing is, I'm not sure if you're trying to use arguments to shift away from atrocious ideology. And when I see a constant barrage of attacks on Black Lives Matter, but I don't see a pronounced denunciation on your part of what happened on January 6th. And then I hear you say things like, I voted for him in 2020, but not 2016. That goes a long way to me. And then you say, well, he's already done the cultural damage that he's going to do. No, he hasn't. He could do so much more. And by voting for him in 2020, that is an acceptance of everything he had done up to that point. Now, that doesn't include the whole election nonsense, stop the steal bullshit. And I can't say that I've seen you promote that. But I did see you retweet Marcus Rogers, who does, right? Like, all these things add up, CJ, and that's why when you asked me to do this, I jumped on it, because the only way I can get conclusions is by confronting you with what I'm actually seeing. Now, I'm accepting the things that you're telling me. I'm gonna have to process it. I'm gonna have to hear from people in the after show, tell me what I did wrong, where I went wrong, because I am a bit angry, of course. I mean, I told you I was going to come in angry. I told you before the show I was going to come in angry. So, of course, I'm going to be a bit irrational during this. And I'm going to go through and analyze it and try to see where that's happening so I can see past that and try to get it, because I want to believe that you're a good human being, right? But when I hear secession, when I see the attacks on Black Lives Matter, I don't see the pronounced denunciation of that atrocious shit. It leads me to conclude that you could very well be a Confederate just trying to, because, I mean, what Confederates, and I'm not saying this about you by any means, never been my criticism, but neo-Nazis, what they will try to do is repackage it into something that's digestible by normal human beings. And that's how they work their way in. And I've seen it happen over and over again. The alt-right, we could talk about that all day long. And I don't think you disagree with me on that, right? Maybe, but I don't think you will if you're honest about it. That's what I'm worried about. And that's why, I need to process this conversation and then maybe have that private conversation we was talking about, so I can get a real, because I don't want to, I mean, if you're a Confederate, I would just rather you say, hey, I'm a Confederate. That way I know where you are. I know where I am. You're my enemy, and we can go from there. I'm not going to get that, so I need to see where I'm going wrong and if my logic here could be wrong.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I just think that a lot of it has to do with just assuming certain intents. And to be fair, it's not like the left is the sole arbiter of that. It's not like you're the sole arbiter of that, right? I do that. The right does that. It's sort of human nature in a way. We just assume things about our opponents, right? But I mean, like why would I have this constant barrage of retweets? And let me point out, like, one of them, right? Mike Lee. This is one I just found.
They're very inconsistent.
Hang on. whether we get back in the chamber or convene in a different location, the Senate should continue the work of the American people immediately. This outrage cannot be allowed to disrupt that work for a minute long.
Here's another retweet. Matt Walsh blog, 21 hours ago. The Capitol building wasn't, quote unquote, raised or anything close to that, you ridiculous drama queen. However, BLM did raise many buildings, including government facilities like police stations. I mean, so it's very inconsistent here. Can you not see that?
See, I think where you're seeing inconsistency is actually where I see the most consistency, because what I'm doing is I'm calling out these people.
You're justifying what they did. I mean, no, that's justifying what they did.
It's not justification. It's trying to get the people who follow me who are on the left to basically say, do you see the way you feel right now? That's the way we felt all year. So can we all just take a step back?
So all right. So what you just said, think about that, CJ. All right. So the way that we felt when these right-wing terrorists stormed into the Capitol to murder not only duly elected people we voted for or we support, but duly elected people that we don't support, like Mike Pence, that equates to the feeling that you had as you watched Black Lives Matter protesters ask for equality.
That's you.
That's what you just said. 97% of those protests were peaceful. You're talking about this Black Lives Matter as if there's some terrorist organization when they're not. It's disgusting. It's fucking disgusting. It's disgusting.
In this debate or conversation, whatever, right? That at least 198,000 people, according to Rage, right, would be there who were.
Was this the first time this happened, CJ, at the Capitol?
As far as like Trumpers storming stuff?
Yeah, well,
the first one that I know of, yeah.
So I mean, they were planning on doing that here in my state too, not too long ago.
See, I heard about that, but the thing is, I mean, that's not even consistent, right? Because at least one of the people of that group was actually an anarchist, which is not something that anybody who's a Republican would agree with. There was also, I know some people who were part of the Boogaloo Boys who were in that group too. So I'm not going to say that they were like.
It was a face group of Trumpers that had Boogaloo Boys and anarchists. Yes, you're right. You're exactly right. Because that's what we have here. We have a bunch of fucking right-wing terrorists.
Well, hang on, anarchism. I don't think anarchism is.
Well, no, this particular anarchist is though. He's a sovereign citizen.
Okay, so
yeah.
All right. Well, and I just might be ignorant on that. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, they were gonna storm our Capitol here, and they were gonna put our governor on trial and execute her right in our Capitol. Has leftists done that? When's the last time a leftist tried to do that?
Well, I mean, honestly, if we're just gonna be real about it, right? There is a reason why Chaz changed to CHOP, right? It's because at first they were like, we are autonomous and we're gonna own this place, and they're extorting people. And then when people said, no, we're gonna respond in a pretty aggressive way if you do that, then it was like, oh wait, no, never mind. Now it's an organizational protest, not an occupied or not an autonomous zone, right? Like, so yes, that has to happen by the left. In fact, that the rapper Rob Simone or whatever, I mean, that dude should definitely be arrested. Like, absolutely. The fact that he wasn't is mind-boggling. He led a terrorist group and whether or not you want to call them all terrorists is not the point. At least the one that he managed to get power over, right? That was terrorism. That was absolutely terrorism. And actually, to be fair, I'd even be willing, like, I would be completely and totally willing to have, like, in fact, this is even what I want, some level of compromise where it was nobody compromises on their view, right? If people want to believe things that I disagree with or that I think are false, but we can at least agree that Rob Simone and also the guys who instigated the Capitol on the 6th should both be in prison. We should at least agree on that the protests that were destroying $2 billion worth of property and killing 30 people, as well as the people who tried to kill Gretchen Whitmer, right? That they're both evil. I'm perfectly fine with that. But the thing is consistently, and I'll be honest, it more frequently in higher ups. I guess I don't know off the top of my head a situation where you had done this. It's more a lot like CNN, Young Turks, people who are a lot bigger. But I don't see a lot of that on the left. I mean, Nancy Pelosi and Kamala Harris.
Well, CNN's not on the left. They're moderate oligarch hacks. They're owned by Time Warner. Oh my God, dude. A lot of people would argue that the Young Turks isn't even on the left anymore. All right. And this is the thing, and we're gonna have to end it. I've got an after show starting. I know you've got to get to work. You said you only really wanted to do an hour, and here we are still arguing. I think we both need to analyze. Maybe we're both not hearing each other here. But I would just again ask you, just like, reevaluate this decision that you've made to despise Black Lives Matter, right? Because ultimately they're just asking for equality. Whether you agree with that or not, that's one thing. But like, this decision you've made to equate them with what we saw on January 6th, or what we've seen from right-wing terrorism in this country, to attack leftists as if we're somehow the dangerous ones, CJ, when we're not. All the numbers indicate right-wing terrorism is a real threat in this country. You guys got most of the guns. You're willing to use them. It's very, very apparent. And to equate that to equate Black Lives Matter to what we've seen on January 6th, that's why I'm here today. That's why I had to call it out. But I will go back and analyze, and where I went wrong, I will admit to going wrong. I'm sure I went wrong quite a few times with this, because anytime you're assuming things based upon what you see, you're going to be wrong. But that's going to require people reiterating that to me as well. I just hope that you're open to it as well, to see where I'm coming from here, and to try to think beyond your own ideology. That's all. That's what I would hope from this. But I know we do need to kind of wrap this up. So I'll give you a final word. I'm on your channel too. That was my final word.
For sure. And I do appreciate you coming on here. Absolutely. These conversations need to be had. To be honest, I'd prefer hostile conversations to no conversations at all.
Well, and we haven't had very many hostile conversations, so good. Better to get it out of your system than to let it ride and grow. And ending up hating somebody you shouldn't.
Well, and I do know, that is something that, you're right. Me, you, and John have even talked about it with each other, right? Where it's like all three of us have been on the brink of radicalism at some point during this incredibly hectic year.
Oh yeah,
and so I grant that. I guess the only thing that I would say here is I do think that, if we do look at this situation, and the situation I mean is betwixt me and you, not necessarily the greater situation itself, although that obviously is involved, in honest fashion, that some of the conclusions, and I'm not even going to deny that there'll be some of my conclusions too, because, I could certainly be, wrong in some situations, right? I'm not going to pretend that that's not true. But I do think we'd be coming to some different conclusions, because I do think there's a lot of fear, I think, in both sides, where people are really, really scared of what's going to happen next. And
I think we both agree, like the original, why we're here and so upset with each other was, I think, a misunderstanding. You thought I was talking about you, and I was talking to John Maddox, and so that's unfortunate. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, and I apologize for that, for sure.
Yeah, I should have been clear, honestly. I on the Twitter, I'm very bad about staying on Twitter. So I'll respond to you, but that doesn't mean I'll see your response to me. So and especially if I get aggravated, I will usually just turn it off before I say something really stupid. Twitter's gotten me in trouble, so I don't use Twitter like most people do. Probably like you do.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I do use Twitter a lot, just because it gets kind of addictive. I'll be honest with you, but it is definitely not the best place for sure to keep too long a time on. I'm not saying that people should completely not use it, but although to be fair, I am certainly in support of alternative. And to be honest with you, I'm going to call it alternative and not conservative, because I think the idea that Parler's conservative will die pretty soon, because I don't think the big tech will stop. And I think we're going to get a lot of people who have nothing to do with politics whatsoever on places like Parler and MeWe and Rumble real soon. I
think you're going to get a lot of liberals there to see what the hell y'all are saying.
I think that's true, but I actually strongly believe it, because if it's genuinely just about freedom on the company's part, then a lot of these groups, just for example, the game theorist Matt Pat, right? Completely apolitical. He's just a YouTuber. but being, constantly harassed by YouTube because he might address a historical topic or a topic that has to do with cults or something like that, right? That's just insane. And eventually it'll push people like him off if it gets worse and worse and worse. And when that happens, places like Rumble, if they're truly free speech places, will be the open places, and then nobody's going to think of them as a conservative place anymore. It's just going to be.
We didn't even get into this shit. So yeah, I had a lot of that I wanted to talk about too. So we'll have to talk about that at another time because yeah, you're on this crusade about free speech, and I don't think you understand what free speech is. But like, we definitely don't have time to get into that. That would be a whole other conversation.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, and that's definitely true. Well, and to be fair, I guess this will be the sort of last thing I say on that. I would not equate Twitter's actions to anything that needs to be where they need to be held legally accountable, because legally free speech applies to the governments, government as in the federal and 50 states. But I do believe that having freer speech, barring of course crimes and potentially pornography goes from site to site.
The people that are being eliminated right now are people that perpetuated a false misinformation campaign by the President of the United States to steal an election and say that it was stolen, that this election fraud crap, and people that are being deleted are known QAnon. Misinformation. They're going after misinformation because we have now seen the damage that misinformation can do.
Well, and I guess we'll have to talk about that more because I got a lot of thoughts on that. But we'll definitely.
Yeah, it is another 2-hour conversation on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But the thing is, it'll come up, right? Because it's going to be one of the big conversations of 2021, I think. So.
Oh, I agree with that. I think that's probably going to happen. Yeah.
But with that, I appreciate Rage being here. I appreciate Rage's audience, even if obviously they're not viewing it on my channel. Even still, I appreciate you nonetheless.
I will get the link to your channel in the description so people know where to find you. CJ does hold open rooms, and I always promote open rooms, open dialogues. So I do appreciate that about CJ's channel.
Yeah, and thank you for that. And I will say, so just for the end of this, I want to sort of, say something very clearly, and I want my audience, as well as Rage's audience, of course, but I want my audience to hold me accountable to this sort of thing just as much as we need to hold everybody else accountable for this sort of thing. Regardless of what you believe, right? If it's something like, I've been clear in this stream, I even believe something that's considered pretty extreme as a national divorce, as I would term it. But even if that's what you believe, no matter what, it should be as a means to increase peace and prosperity, where you might just be wrong, not in a way to, fan the flames. Polarization, I think, is too strong at this point, and people do need to certainly take steps back from that, and that obviously includes myself. With that, please do please do share. What good is a message without an audience to hear it, of course. If you do like this sort of content, you can, of course, subscribe to The Synagogue. I have 2 different podcasts I post here: Unapologetics, which is about apologetics, religion, things of that nature, and The Watchdog, which is mainly kind of obscure political topics. Don't talk a lot about stuff that's happening in the States, but sometimes I talk about stuff that's happening in the States. Definitely check that out if you're interested. Please do like and share this video. Any links that I'll have will be in the description below, but I haven't actually set them up yet. And that's about all I got. Thank you guys very much, and God bless.
Yeah, and my audience, thank you for watching. After show in 12 minutes. No closing screen, so I'll see you guys soon.